Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm challenging my friend Croissant to a game of chess where I play with only one pawn, except I have 3 superpowers that he does not know about.
I want Checkmate challenge me to a super normal game of chess. Now, judging by his previous videos and the videos that he does, I believe him, okay? I believe this is going to be a very normal game of chess. Nothing suspicious will happen in this game.
My goal is to win one game. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, the premise is extremely simple. I have a king, I have a pawn, and I have an opponent that I need to take down.
Now, it looks to be just a king and a pawn versus all of my pieces. And we have a normal setup here.
Now, the only way that I'm going to win this is by pushing this pawn to promotion, getting a queen, and then hopefully somehow that leads to checkmate. So let's start by pushing this pawn.
H4 starting move. What do I even do here? Let's move our e-pawn forward here. We're going to attack this pawn. We're going to set up our bishop to put the king in check. We're just going to get an easy victory right off the bat here.
Alright, we're met with pawn to e5, which is clearly aiming to capture my pawn with his queen. And that I cannot allow, so let's go ahead and activate my first cheat and get rid of this pesky queen. Alright, now that we have her out of the way, let's continue to advance my pawn.
I'm not sure how he's going to win with a pawn and a king, but you know what? I guess that's what we're going to find out. This literally says super normal chess, so nothing too weird can happen. Oh my days, there's an Among Us character on the screen. What? Is that legal? Is that legal to do in chess? The Among Us guy just stole my queen. What do I do against that? Can I capture the Among Us character when he comes on the screen? You know what? We're not going to worry about what happened to my queen. We're just going to hope nothing bad happens to the rest of my pieces. I'm just going to put him in check. This cannot be a bad move.
Alright, the bishop comes out swinging with check. I will just move my king out of the way.
Maybe we should attack the pawn right away and get the pawn off the board. Because if an Among Us character steals these 2 pieces, this pawn is just going to promote and I will lose the game immediately. I do want to set up this tactic, but by the time I play d5, like the pawn's already going to move, this won't even be there. So I'm just going to play knight f6, attack the pawn immediately.
Alright, we're met with knight to f6, which clearly aims to capture this pawn, and I'm going to activate my second cheat, which is that I can remove squares from the board completely. Now, I'm not completely sure if the knight will just simply jump over it, but the actual path of the knight is g6 to h5, or some people would argue g6, h6, h5. So I think that by eliminating that g6 square, we can in fact protect this pawn. The square is literally just no longer playable.
I have never seen an Among Us character run across the board and steal one of my pieces before. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it's disturbing, okay? I was disturbed when I saw that. Also, I don't know how to defend against that. Like, what if it just runs across the board and steals my king? Then I just lose the game immediately. Okay, one of my squares got deleted off the board.
Now we'll continue to advance the king to support the pawn push.
This square just got deleted from existence, but I can still take his pawn for free. So this is just an absolutely free piece. I think that's fine. We're just going to capture the free pawn here.
Okay, it didn't quite work out the way that I was hoping. These disappearing squares do stop pieces from moving through them, but I guess the knight can simply jump over, which does make a lot of sense. But no worries, I can use my third and final cheat, which I lovingly refer to as my insurance policy, and that is that I can simply spawn in a brand new pawn. Nice, and with my brand new pawn on the board, let's march him down.
I'm just going to take the free piece and live my life in peace now. And now I just have to focus on checkmating the king. And once that happens, then we win the game, I presume. Okay, so he spawned another piece on the board and moved it. Okay. Let me think here. What would a good player do? What would Stockfish do here? I think I'm just going to advance my D pawn and then bring out like my light squared bishop. That can't be bad.
We are met with pawn to d5. There are a lot of developing moves here. The bishop also sees the square on h3, so I can't quite advance this pawn yet, but what I can do is make yet another square disappear. We'll go ahead and evaporate the f5 square, meaning that is literally just a void in the board, and the bishop can no longer see as far as h3. So now we can advance the pawn.
And another piece got deleted off the board, another square. I didn't even notice that. So that means, wait, that means this bishop can't go here if the pawn advances. Oh my days, that bishop is blocked. Okay, what do we do here? I'm thinking we could go bishop e1 so we can stop this pawn from going here. Keep it simple like that. Nothing too complicated.
Bishop to e2 valiantly tries to defend that h4 square, but I'll come in and manually start clearing out these pieces so I can make room for my pawn to promote.
Okay, king goes towards my knight, so he wants to capture it. I'm just going to move it back. A simple move. Put him in check.
Knight comes back with a very pesky check, and I have to be super careful here because it is not impossible to get checkmated. For instance, if I move my king up to g5, there could be a pawn to h6 movement, which would checkmate my king, and that actually would end the game. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to call my brand new intern to handle this knightly situation.
No, the Among Us guy's back. Can I capture him? What? How do I stop the Among Us guy?
All right, and now that we've evaporated that knight, we'll also go ahead and get rid of this f2 square so the bishop can never see h4 and push that pawn yet again. He is unstoppable.
I don't even know what's happening here. I think h5 is a fine move. We stop this pawn from advancing, and then we could bring out like our light square bishop to attack the king.
All right, we're met with pawn to h5. Again, there are actual checkmating threats here. If I move my king to g5, there is pawn to f6, which threatens mate. But I can do a little remove the guard tactic and call my favorite little intern to come and do some dirty work for me.
No, my rook is gone. What is this Among Us? Can I capture him? What is happening?
Thank you, buddy. Big bonus coming your way. Now, with that rook removed, nobody is defending this pawn, which means I can simply capture it.
How do I stop the Among Us guy from capturing all my pieces? I don't actually know. But what I do know is this king is now kind of trapped over here. So if I could play... I'm going to play bishop d2 to cover all these squares. Then I'm going to try to bring out this light square bishop to here and here. Oh, the king is actually escaping. Okay, that's not good. You know what? It doesn't matter. We're still going to do our original plan. We're going to bring out a light squared bishop and stop this king here. Okay, pawn advances, but our pawn covers this square. If he for some reason uses his mystical abilities and like deletes his h6 square, that means his pawn can't go forward. So I don't think we need to worry about that. This pawn will always be able to stop it unless the Among Us guy comes back, but then this bishop will cover that square. So we're good on that regard. Let's go bishop a6.
All right, bishop to a6 does actually threaten bishop to e2 with the skewer, which would eliminate my pawn, but I've worked too hard to get this pawn onto the board. So instead, I'm going to enact a couple of board changes. Firstly, I'm going to knock off this e3 square so that the bishop can no longer defend h6.
Now, at the start of the game, I went from being confident I was going to win this game 100% to now, oh, this bishop does not cover the square anymore, to now having no idea what's going to happen because strange things are happening in this game.
Second of all, I'm going to call upon my $0 employee to take care of this g7 pawn.
No, the Among Us guy's back. Like, what do I even do against that? From what I remember about super normal chess, an Among Us character is not supposed to run across your screen and steal a chess piece. Now, that's just from what I remember, okay? Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall this being a rule of chess. We're gonna move our king over to f8, try to stop this pawn with our king.
The king valiantly shuffles over to try and stop the pawn. If I push, the king slides up, and I promote, I would simply lose the pawn. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure that this pawn promotes. We're gonna go ahead and knock off the g7 square, push the pawn up to h7, pawn covers g8, and there's no way to stop promotion.
Oh no, this pawn's about to promote. And I actually can't stop it. Okay, let's put the king in check here. He has a bunch of safe spaces to move to. Yeah, and my bishop can't even attack that because there's a little chasm in the way. What can I do? Can I do anything? I can move my king up here.
King to e7 attempts to run away from the pawn, but I must admit, these are the flails of a dying man. But I, a merciful opponent, will go ahead and put him out of his misery. We'll go ahead and get rid of all of these pieces, which are clearly causing him a headache.
This Among Us guy is going to traumatize me when I go to sleep tonight. Wait, why did he steal my knight? He can steal 2 pieces? My life is over. My life is... Yeah, okay. Why are all my pieces disappearing? Where are they going to? Where are they being taken off to? I'm worried. I'm not even sad anymore. I'm just depressed. I'm about to press a resign button here. There is no resign button. Okay, okay. Okay. And every single square is being deleted off the board.
And now, with a beautiful pawn promotion, I have very cleverly found a forced checkmate in 2.
If there was a draw button, I would be spamming the draw button right now, but now I only have 1 space to move to. I want checkmate. Not letting me resign has to be against at least one of the Geneva Conventions, but I guess I only have 1 legal space to move to, so I will be doing that right now.
All right, king to e6 is in fact on the board, and with queen to e8, we do in fact checkmate Croissant.
This game, okay, first of all, I was told, and this was promoted to be a super normal chess game. I feel lied to, okay? I feel deceived. I feel great depression in my soul because I just lost with all my pieces versus I want checkmate's king and pawn. Anyways, make sure you guys subscribe to I Want Checkmate, even though you put me through this.
If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Please go check out Croissant for putting up with all of my shenanigans. His stuff will be the first link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.